Gravity Zone is delivered as a virtual appliance. The Gravity Zone appliance is available in the formats listed on this slide. Support for other formats and virtualization platforms may be provided, on request. By default, the Gravity Zone appliance will be deployed with the hardware configuration presented on the bottom of this slide. Depending on the number of protected endpoints, Gravity Zone roles distribution, and network infrastructure, you might need to modify the assigned resources, as advised by the Bitdefender Professional Services Department. Gravity Zone requires external internet connectivity to the Bitdefender cloud services for two reasons. The Gravity Zone web console server connects every 24 hours with lv2.bitdefender.com on port 443, to update the status of the currently used license key. The Gravity Zone update server is connecting with both download.bitdefender.com on port 80, and upgrade.bitdefender.com on port 80, to check for new updates. The download address is the public repository for the Bitdefender Virtual Appliances updates, and the upgrade address is the repository for engines and malware signatures. The table on this slide lists the ports used for external communication by the web server, the update server, and the destination addresses. The diagram on this slide shows you how the Gravity Zone server roles interact with each other, and with third-party components like vCenter Server, or Active Directory. The ports used for the communication between the Gravity Zone server roles and with third-party management tools, are listed in this table. To access the Control Center web console, the requirements presented on this slide should be met. Control Center will not be displayed properly using Internet Explorer 9 or higher, with the Compatibility View feature enabled, as this is equivalent with using an unsupported browser version. Bitdefender Endpoint Security Tools is compatible with the Windows workstations, servers, tablets and embedded operating systems listed on this slide. For some of the operating systems, marked with an asterisk, starting January 1, 2017 until January 1, 2020, Bitdefender will provide limited support, more precisely only signature-based anti-malware protection, on a case-by-case basis. Beside Windows operating systems, Bitdefender Endpoint Security Tools can also protect Mac and Linux operating systems, as listed in this table. On-access scanning is available for all supported guest operating systems. On Linux systems, on-access scanning support is provided through the Fanidify or Darzuko FS interfaces. Fanidify and Darzuko FS enable third-party applications to control file access on Linux systems. For any other distribution or kernel version, you need to manually compile the Darzuko FS module. Please consult the product manual for information on how to manually compile this module. Endpoint browser security is compatible with Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, and Safari browsers. The Endpoint Security Client can be installed on any computer that meets the minimum hardware requirements, as indicated on this slide, and on the following one. The required RAM memory depends on the installed scanning engine. The Endpoint Security Tools installation with central scan engines will require the fewest resources. This slide presents an estimation of the RAM memory daily usage. Required hard drive space will also depend on the installed scan engines. Installations with local scan engines will require considerably more disk space than the ones with central or hybrid scan engines. At least 10 GB free disk space is required for entities with Bitdefender Endpoint Security Tools Relay Role, as they will store all the updates and installation packages locally. At least 100 GB are needed for the patch management cache server. Requirements and footprint for systems integrated in VMware environments with vShield endpoint, or guest introspection driver, are listed on this slide. This slide lists the virtualization environments compatible with security for virtualized environments. Support for other virtualization platforms may be provided on request. When installing the security service in a vSphere environment with vShield endpoint, you should also take the needed prerequisites into account. When installing the security service in a vSphere environment with NXS, you should also take the needed prerequisites into account. Control Center currently integrates with VMware vCenter and Citrix Xen Server virtualization management tools. Gravity Zone installs on Nutanix in minutes either through a one-click deployment of the Gravity Zone Calm Marketplace blueprint, or as an intuitive Nutanix Prism-driven workflow. Similar to Nutanix, Gravity Zone offers freedom of choice in supported virtualization platforms, maximizing the return on your existing infrastructure, and enabling a secure transition to Nutanix AHV from other hypervisors. To set up integration, you must provide the username and password of an administrator for the specific environment. The security server is a pre-configured virtual machine, running on a hardened Linux server distribution, kernel version 2.6. Memory and CPU resource allocation for the security server depend on the number and type of VMs running on the host. Requirements also depend on whether or not the appliance integrates with VMware vShield endpoint. In VMware environments with vShield endpoint, security server must be installed on each ESXi host to be protected. The table on this slide lists the recommended resources to be allocated. In other virtualization environments, although not mandatory, Bitdefender recommends installing the security server on each physical host, for improved performance. You should provision the resources listed on this slide, for each deployed security server, depending on the number of protected VMs. The security server will need to be able to connect to the communication server, in order to receive tasks and policies assigned from Control Center, and to be able to send the security status to the database. Updates will be downloaded from the local update server through port 7074. Bitdefender endpoint security tools with central scan engines will need to be able to connect to the security server for offloading anti-malware processing. The communication server for receiving policies, tasks and sending security status back to the database, and to the update server, for downloading updates and upgrades. When using the staging feature with a testing environment, the update will occur on port 7077, as opposed to the production environment, which will use port 7074. The communication ports used by endpoint security tools and the security server are listed in the table on this slide. Security for mobile devices supports Apple iPhone, iPad tablets, Google Android smartphones and tablets. The Gravity Zone mobile client application can be downloaded from the App Store, or from Google Play. The table on this slide provides information on the ports used by the Security for Mobile Devices service. Security for Exchange is compatible with Microsoft Exchange Server 2007, 2010, 2013, and 2016. Security for Exchange is compatible with any physical or virtual 64-bit server, Intel or AMD, running a supported Microsoft Exchange Server version and role. This slide lists the hardware requirements for installing Bitdefender endpoint security tools on an Exchange server. For details regarding the Bitdefender endpoint security tools system requirements, refer to Endpoint Protection, Supported Operating Systems chapter. The Report Builder appliance is available in the same formats as Gravity Zone, meaning OVA, XVA, VHD, OVF, and RAW. If the Report Builder appliances are installed, but turned off, the Gravity Zone appliance will not start. An error message will be displayed and Report Builder must be removed, in the same way as you remove any other roles. Hardware requirements for Report Builder, CPU and RAM, are listed on this slide. This slide lists the required hard disk space for the Report Builder.